All right, good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 96th episode of our first YouTube run through Book of Hours, playing as the artist. Our main goal for today, game time, has been to level up Resurgences and Emergences. We need 7 memories to do that, and just as a reminder, we have everything that we need in order to be able to accomplish that goal, but I'm holding off on it just because we do have Mrs. Kill with us today. We can use her to try and generate some memories, and essentially the balance of whatever's left over, essentially I've got 4 elements of the soul set aside. I can potentially unlock 3 of those by talking with Mrs. Kill. We're just waiting till the end of the day because there's no direct advantage to using Resurgences and Emergences right away. But again, my opinion on this might change depending on how the day goes. A couple of secondary goals would be to figure out some other things to do with the sun's weakness. My main goal here, I suppose, would probably be to test some of the lantern elements for it. Those aren't really realistic right now. I don't see a lot of value in restore. Well, actually, there is one thing that I could do. One thing I'm currently doing with the Sweet Bones is I'm restoring the core. Now, if I restore Faust instead and use that as my main working tool, there's not that much harm in that. We still have the Arab available for Resurgences and Emergences. The reason I normally work with the core on this is just in an emergency, having that restored gives me a backup grail. But I don't exactly want to bend the whole playthrough around satisfying that. And then, of course, we've got the chimeric larva, which is currently being transformed into a perilous imago. And what else do we have? We've got... Oh, yes, some... there's going to be some... what am I trying to say here? We wanted to take a look at what some of our other options for Rose would be. So I'm not too fussed about that. Actually, the more I think of this, I'm not 100% sure if I remember what the Perilous Imago produces in terms of a memory. So maybe I just want to interact with that to see what it does. But yeah, pretty full agenda. I don't think we'll get all of it taken care of today, but we can do our best. All right, so this is a little bit of what I was talking about. So here we've unlocked a FET in order, at least one of these elements of the soul in terms of things that we can just do something with for today. So we'll still keep talking with Mrs. Kill. But actually, one thing I can do right away is just to take a look at the chancel here. So we've got Edict's Liminal. I can add the sun's weakness, then we can add the name day riddle, and we're at 19, so clearly that's not what's keeping us from the higher level moth stuff. Oh yeah, I suppose I should have waited with that chimeric larva, because now I don't know what the other component would have been. Could try with flowers, I suppose. So let's rearrange this a bit. Actually, no, you know what? Chancel's exactly where I want it to be. So, sun's weakness. We don't want to spend all. We don't want to spend all day on this, but let's see if there's another mothy thing that I can throw in there. Mothy candle. I think Aglaophotis scented candle might be mothy. Nope, it is the one aspect it doesn't seem to have. There's the moth orchid. Again, I'm not expecting miracles on this, but you never know. So yeah, nothing with Edict's Liminal. I expect nothing with Resurgences and Emergences, but you never know. Again, the whole point of this is just to fill in some of those gaps that might have been there. Mostly, the main thing that's changed here is the name day riddle itself. So I just really, at this point, am trying to see whether or not we can learn a little bit more. Now, the one challenge here is, I think, Sabazine doesn't do anything for me. So yeah, so at least as far as the moth is concerned, the name day riddle doesn't add anything new to the formula. Doesn't mean that the name day riddle is useless, it just means that anything that we're looking for that's extra would be on the knock end of things. Although there's nothing saying we can't test that, so let's do that now. Now the dispensary does allow for a liquid, that's good. In fact, I think it'll also allow for flower. Yeah, so let's take that moth orchid. Assuming I remember where I put it. So if we take the moth orchid, we can put the name day riddle in place. Now we can, under substance, we can take the sacrament ascite, which is a high level knock item. And so that should give us some fairly powerful knock recipes, assuming we haven't already found them. Although I do sort of feel like the sacrament ascite might have... Actually, you know what? The glass finger toxin's more appropriate here. There we go. Now, not a big surprise that we don't have what it takes for the 2 strength ones. So glass finger toxin might be off the menu for these others. Stampule, if we add glass, can't add glass there, can't add glass there. Probably was a little premature at getting rid of that, but this is the last of the knock things for me to check out. So we'll add the sacrament ascite again. Aha! Okay, so we've got a curious hunch. And I don't think the moth orchid's going to change anything there, but... okay. Now, what was the other one that I wanted? It was glass blowing and vessel crafting, right? Okay, so if I add metal to glass blowing and vessel crafting, we've got something there. Clockworks was glass. Okay, Gervanite, good to know. I'm wondering here... This one actually shouldn't be that hard, so if we take... Oh, did I run out of metal? That can't be right. Yeah, there it is. Orichalcum. Alright. I could make that, but I think I will resist the urge to just make random stuff right now. Okay, so again, a few recipes out of this. Nothing that really makes me completely rethink my day. Although I was talking about the Faust, we've got whist, so I can actually experiment with lantern as well. I just kind of took leave of my senses. So let's take a minute and work that out as well. Now it looks like we've got everything lantern really that we need. I am a little curious about the Ichor Vitreous, so we're going to throw that into the collection. Looks here like it's the xanthotic essence that really makes the magic happen here. Well, glass as well, so maybe I want to consider that as well. I think this one might be nectar. I'll work with that later. Oh, that's interesting. So why do you not... Oh, right. Okay, I'm in the wrong section. Okay. This is a little harder to justify. Well, the history plant, I guess, has a lantern-y aspect. I don't really think it's relevant here. But I'm just trying to think, like, what other material could I put in that would also give me the... Oh, well, there you go. Sand. All right. Okay, so this should at least give me a... It's a little scattershot, but... Well, there you go. We've got ashertine. Which I keep forgetting about, actually. Now, the inks are actually a major point. I haven't used them for this purpose that much, but I do potentially benefit from these discoveries if I have some lantern texts with the relevant difficulty. I probably want to mess around with xanthotic essence at some point as well, but let's focus on what we've got here. Okay. Nothing too new in some of these new ones. Why on earth did I put the sabazine up like this? That's probably why my whole setup's messed up. Okay, I think that's it for the lantern. So the last batch that I want to work with here would be, so we know the recipe for Uzalt, so at the very least it would be nice to eliminate some possibilities. So we already know that here. Pyroglyphics, nothing new there. Okay. Again, this is mostly just to remove the mystery for some of these others. Okay, so it's possible, actually, we can remove this substance, I bet, if we add the agave eterna. Okay, well that gives us our 15, but in this case, that's not it. Well, if we add the ichor vitreous, that won't be enough. Yeah, we're still one short there. So unless I can develop a 4... Yeah, I don't see that working. We can get close. We could add a candle somewhere, but... We're probably at the end of our investigations for the lantern stuff. Again, and definitely not a bad one for us. There's still a little more to check out, but okay. Oh, I forgot to check out Disciplines of the Scar. Old moment, huh? Not the one I was expecting. Trying to think if there is a value to taking out the xanthotic essence and putting something else in. I don't think there is, so I'm going to leave that aside. I guess it's nice to know that I have a lantern way of generating an old moment, but I'm not entirely sure I can generate a whole... Well, no, actually, hang on. That is a fairly significant discovery, because right now to get an old moment, I combine 3 memories, none of which are related to Sun's weakness, whereas... Okay, it's a narrow path, but so if we take Disciplines of the Scar, that gives me 1 lantern to begin with. If we take the Foss, that's 3. Then we add Sun's weakness. So that brings us up to 8. So if I don't want to consume something, I suppose I still need to get another memory, and then we would do that at an altar, like the solar altar. That still strikes me like, at minimum, we're gaining 1 element of the soul that we wouldn't otherwise have. So that's... seems like a win. A little water splashes on the stones of the well to nourish the mosses there. Now, I think at this point we can decide on some other things to do with our time, so tending to the hive might be a good idea. Alternatively, so there's Agave Eterna. I'm thinking of the Fragrant Chalice, though. Yeah, so I think it's going to say it's too quiet. Yeah, Lenten Rose, okay. Not quite the thing I'm looking for. I mean, I could still pick some flowers, but I'm thinking there might be other things for me to do. Oh yes, there was another thing I wanted to try with Grail. I'm trying to remember exactly what I was going to do, though. So if I take the Sacrament Callicite, wouldn't have been the dolls because the dolls aren't relevant here. Yeah, honestly, I can't make much sense of that. I'm going to leave it be. We are, however, going to mess around with the bees. Honey or beeswax, if I'm careful. And better now. So I guess I don't really need to worry about switching out the Faust anymore. We kind of got what we needed out of that. There's not much work on offer in Bradkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. The one thing that I haven't done is I haven't really thought about what my rose strategies might be, but I've got plenty of time to consider that. So one wet wing and then the other, and then it shakes them dry. And from that point, it will bear watching always. So it has come so far, release it, and it could fly further. Oh yeah, so I think transformations and liberations, I had something that I could do. Actually, I guess that's my option here. So if I go... No, that one... Was it transformations and liberations? Sorry, this is kind of bugging me now. Okay, so we've got the Ruby Wise Ruin option. No, we were definitely looking at moth stuff. So... yeah, I think the problem here is I don't have a moth. This will still do the trick. Okay, so if I take the Fet, so again, resurgences and emergences doesn't do the trick here. Oh, there it is. There's the chimeric larva. Now this actually creates a slight awkwardness for me because I do kind of want to try this. But I do also need to get the sun's weakness back, and that doesn't leave me with enough elements of the soul. So let's see what Mrs. Kill got me. All right, so she didn't get me a gossip or anything like that. So right now, we're just going to cool it on creating another chimeric larva. I also may want to find another place to keep the pets. Particularly where there's bookshelves. What room would I want to keep this fellow in? This kind of feels like it would be an appropriate room, but both of these are pretty full right now. I suppose this might work. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. There it is and can be no tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. There we go. We can put the Perilous Imago into the garden, the scent garden. Alright, beeswax. It begins as a flower. Beeswax can be used to make candles if you have a skill with the chandlery aspect, which we do. I also have a lot more beeswax than is probably appropriate, but now I do have an answer to my question in terms of where I get the Newman from, the sun's weakness, and that is I can get it from the core, but I've not given myself a lot of time. So at this point, I think I just need to lock in the memories. So I have one more chat with Mrs. Kill, but... yeah, that's the hurry up sound. So what I'm probably going to do here, got the core back. We'll earn some money, so there's not much work on offer in Brancrude, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. We are going to read the relevant books, so we've got the Satisfaction. The things that I was looking for are, what was it? Where's my notes? So it was Gossip and Impulse. So we'll queue those up right now. Never remember Samuel Savage's plays give God. There it is. Humors of a Gentleman. I've already mastered that. It's actually not all of Samuel Savage's, but this one gives us Gossip. And excuse me. And Impulse, well, we can basically read any book for that, but let's see if there's something that speaks to me based on what I know. Shadow in the Stair might be kind of interesting, but I'm thinking of a different stair. We will read Shadow in the Stair. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. And then after I give this a little bit of time, I'm going to get the sun's weakness back. Of course I get the impulse. Oh, well. Yeah, I think we've got enough time on this. So we'll go to the Pale Desk. Use our whist. Now I expect probably tomorrow in game time we'll wind up with an offer from Oriflammes. So we may have another book to work with. If not, I probably need to think about what my next moves are. So I would like to see what memory I get from the Perilous Imago, because I don't actually remember this. I remember testing it, but I don't think I would pass that test if somebody asked me what the Perilous Imago gives us. I remember the Stimfling gives us a Horizon Sight, which I believe is a level 4 Rose memory. And a persistent one at that. Okay, A Shadow in the Stair. Ernestine Peterhans records her conversations with the Little Darkness in Hush House's Stair Tenebris, which she calls Donkerling. Ernestine's business in the cellars of Hush House often took her up and down the Stair Tenebris, although it is avoided by every other service. Doggerling attempted first to consume her and then to demand sacrifices from her. Ernestine consented to bring it mice, but became very stern when it asked for a new drowned child. Doggerling claims to be an imprisoned long under the protection of the deepest power of the sea. It is prone to occasional bouts of raving about how, when it has its freedom, its patron will drown the isle. Ernestine renders most of these long speeches as an ellipsis, but is very interested in what it can tell her about the circumstances of shipwrecks. There are hints that she may have been planning a salvage expedition. The Humors of a Gentleman, Samuel Savage's satirical comedy on the intrigues of the ailing but cunning John's son, his mistress Mavelyn, her lover Leo, and the upstart Corvino. By the end of the first act, Mavelyn has revealed a secret door in the walls of the house to Leo, and Corvino is taken to consuming worms. The play is scabrous and occasionally hilarious. The characters are contrary and capricious. Many of the more resonant lines might well be formula of power disguised in plain sight. And finally, we've got our core back, as they used to say in my youth. The day is done, and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is level up resurgences and emergences. At last, I approach mastery. Nothing else for us to really do. I can take the intuition overnight, I suppose, but we'll see what Mrs. Kill gives me just in case I get something sort of rare or interesting. All memories are interesting, but some are more interesting than others. Storm is interesting, but we have other ways of getting storm things. So. Oh, wait. Different bed. So it really is the storm or the solace. So yes, we will take the memory of the storm after all. Alright, the Sun Disfigured, a scroll of anthropoderm parchment written in the golden ink called Uzalt. The author of the text calls herself the Elegabline. Sometimes she seems to be Sunset Celia, the Watchman's name. Sometimes she seems to be Lady Tryphon, the Grail Long. It is unclear whether these are separate entities or the same person. It may be unclear even to the writer. The flaws in the Sun's plan are elucidated. The Sun's plan itself is never entirely clear, but it is a project of some kind to enter, possess, or surrender to the glory, the pure light above the mansus. The book suggests ways in which that plan might fail. And just for reference, the Stair Tenebris, I believe, is this one, the Black Stairs. The secret artery of the house, all those... Oh, hang on, no, the Stair Tenebris... Oh, maybe it was this one. No, here we go. There were shadows here in the earth long before the foundations of the house were laid. They retreated before the Romans' burrowings. They quailed before the sun hymns of the brethren. They slunk away before the blades and pistols of the barons de Wolf. Over all those centuries they shrank until at last, when the curia of the isle sunk this stair, they could recruit one as a watchdog. And there's my extra resurgences and emergences. Nothing... We'll probably not get anything new out of that, but again, high level Grail is just kind of nice to have on its own. Although I will admit I tend to find Desires and Dissolutions is slightly more helpful than Resurgences and Emergences. I think it's just because I keep getting hung up about the what am I trying to say? The fabric stuff. Okay. We have got the messenger awaiting her destination. Now, this is a bit of a shame here. So it's a nice, powerful 16 forge. The real thing that I'm looking at here is I still don't know VAC. And it will cost me a gold spintria. So, I mean, I can't read it in two ways, and it would prevent me from being able to learn that language if it just so happened that somebody who was capable of speaking it visited. So I don't think I will accept the Oriflamme offer here. So again, we're kind of at an interesting point in the playthrough. I'm sort of happy that we got to the end of the the playthrough, this is one of the few times in which I can just sort of kick back and decide what my next moves are going to be. So unlike, starting this week, I'm not going to forget, oh yeah, I only wanted to read that one book. I mean, that wound up turning out, but that could have gone bad if we wound up in Numa. So I have a few ideas about how the next little while is going to go, but here are the ones I'm sort of thinking about. I did spend some time looking at the various books and their curses, specifically as related to the sun's weakness. But that's not the only way that I can get rid of curses, right? So when, was this a winter one? No, this was heart. Oh, actually, this one's almost embarrassing that I've let kick around, because if I can summon a storm at any time, well, I've already got 4 heart. Then I add a core, now I'm at 6. So do I really mean to suggest that I'm incapable of producing, 1 more heart? That seems a little silly. So, yeah. These are the sorts of things I kind of want to clear out, because there's some really easy stuff which maybe hasn't been the main focus of the playthrough for the last little while, just because there's other things that we can do. But clearly being able to read a few extra books, that will make the difference, especially as we go between seasons. And because so many of the challenges I'm facing have a rose element, I think these two don't. This one is winter, but this one has a rose component. This one should, and I think this one's nectar, not rose. Yeah. But I think that's about 3 rooms or so, maybe 4, that have a rose component. Being able to use barbers, which come with 1 rose, that kind of counts for something. So my thinking here is that the rest of spring is going to be spent sort of tidying up the books that I can, trying to take advantage of some of the low-hanging fruit. And then what I'd like to do is try and position myself into a point where when spring comes along, if I feel like I can take advantage of some good rose opportunities, I'm specifically thinking here about the fact that I can sort of summon a 4 rose memory at any time. I mean, it'll cost me an egg or it doesn't have to be an egg, but it'll cost me something that a carnivorous beastie would like to eat. But that's not a hardship. Basically, being able to get a bit of a read in terms of what my rose capabilities are, especially with that 1 extra rose that I can rely on, that'll probably help guide the plans for summer. And then on top of that, I do have some sky stuff to mess around with. Now, I'm not expecting miracles here because my sky is a little lopsided. But if I can get a couple of powerful songs, that might be the difference between whether or not I can unlock, another room, or wait for another book. Again, there's a few different paths that I can take that'll wind up sort of getting me to a couple of extra rooms through my more traditional methods. And again, this is really just a question of finding some things that, because I was otherwise occupied with other tasks, I didn't really put a lot of time into thinking about, but now I really do want to spend that time thinking about them. Otherwise, there are a few other just more general things. So for a while, I was kind of going through the house and looking at all the different items. And I sort of stopped doing that because I just had other priorities with my time. Well, that's not true anymore, right? I have more things that I can sort of just generally do, and a few more elements of the soul to sort of kick around. So it might be a time for me to renew some of those old tasks as well. But again, all of that will be dealt with in the next week. As always, thank you very much for watching. I am probably going to be, I'm not sure if I'm going to be more busy this weekend when I'm recording this or next weekend. But so let me think about this. The next week, I think we still have a few more days in January. So yes, I hope you all enjoy your weekend. I will be back Monday for some more episodes, and we will actually see how many of these plans I can remember when when the week with the new work is passed by. So anyways, take care. Thank you for watching as always, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.